September 12th, 1213, Muret, 25 kilometers south of Toulouse. 1,600 French Crusaders stare across a field at 30,000 Franco-Aragonese troops. The math doesn't work. The odds scream defeat. Simon de Montfort holds 1,700 men at most, 900 cavalry, 700 infantry left behind to hold the walls. Against him, King Peter II of Aragon, fresh from crushing Muslims at Las Navas de Tolosa, Raymond VI of Toulouse. Bernard IV of Comminges, Raymond Roger of Foix, 4,000 cavalry, 15,000 infantry, maybe more. This is suicide mathematics. David versus Goliath with worse odds. But in 6 hours, one king will be dead. Thousands will drown in the Garonne. In the course of medieval Europe, will pivot on a single cavalry charge that broke every rule of warfare. If you value documented Viking and Norse-era history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Lawrence Marvin's peer-reviewed analysis published in Medieval Military History, Volume 12, 2008. How? And Martin Alvera Cabrer's definitive Spanish-language study, El Jueves de Muret, from the University of Barcelona Press, 2002, sources that dig deeper than surface-level chronicles to cross-reference archaeology, contemporary witness accounts, and battlefield topography. Now back to the information. 1209. Pope Innocent III calls the Albigensian Crusade. Target, the Cathars. Perfect Christians, they called themselves. No pope, no bishops, no tithes, no marriage, pure spirit over flesh, heretics, said Rome. Southern France burns for 4 years. Simon de Montfort leads the northern armies. Town after town falls. Béziers, Carcassonne, 20,000 dead at Béziers alone when Crusaders asked, "How do we know Catholic from Cathar?" Answer from Papal Legate Arnaud Amaury: "Kill them all." God will know his own. But Toulouse holds. Count Raymond VI refuses to surrender his Cathar subjects. De Montfort needs Toulouse. Without it, the Languedoc rebellion continues. Raymond sends messengers south across the Pyrenees. His brother-in-law rules Aragon, Peter II. Defender of Christendom, conqueror of Muslims, the Pope's favorite son until this moment. August 1213. Peter crosses the mountains with 800 to 1,000 Aragonese knights. His banner bears the cross of Santiago. His reputation travels ahead. Las Navas de Tolosa, July 1612. 50,000 Muslims crushed by Christian coalition. Peter led the charge that broke the Almohad center. Every king in Europe knows his name. Every knight wants to ride with him. At Toulouse, the numbers swell. Raymond brings 2,000 militia. Bernard of Comminges adds cavalry. Raymond Roger of Foix brings mountain fighters. September 10th, the combined army camps outside Muret. Contemporary chronicler Pierre Devaux de Cernay claims 100,000 men. Impossible medieval math. Modern historian Ferdinand Lot suggests 4,000 cavalry, 15,000 infantry. Charles Oman estimates 20,000 foot soldiers from Toulouse alone. Even conservative count, 15 to 1 odds against de Montfort. Inside Muret's walls, 30 men hold the gates. Simon de Montfort arrives September 11th with his field army, 900 mounted men, 260 knights in full mail, 640 sergeants on lighter horses, 700 infantry stay behind to hold the town, total field force, 900 cavalry maximum. Peter offers negotiation. His bishops meet with Crusader clergy. Terms discussed: safe passage south, recognition of Toulouse independence. De Montfort counters: unconditional surrender, exile for Raymond, Cathar expulsion, talks collapse. Peter positions his army. Right flank protected by Saudroun River, left flank secured by marshland. Infantry assault the northern gate nearest Toulouse. Classic siege formation. Time favors the besiegers. September 12th, dawn breaks gray. Toulouse militia attack Muret's walls with ladders, grapples, mangonels. Few defenders. Walls hold barely. Peter keeps his cavalry in reserve. Sound strategy: let infantry take losses, preserve knights for exploitation, but Simon de Montfort thinks differently. 900 cavalry against 20,000 enemies. Defense means death by attrition. Only chance: strike first, strike hard, break their formation before they deploy properly. Classic hammer blow tactics, all or nothing. Third hour after dawn, de Montfort divides his cavalry into 3 squadrons. Lead squadron: Guillaume de Bars, Bouchard de Marly. Second squadron, himself commanding. Third squadron, reserve under Guillaume de Contre. Order simple: hit the Aragonese cavalry before they can form battle line. Ignore the infantry. Kill the king. Peter of Aragon makes his fatal mistake. Count Raymond advises defensive posture. Let them come to us. Use crossbows, javelins, weaken them in the approach. Solid tactical advice. Peter rejects it. Unknightly. Dishonorable. He wants glorious combat, single combat, king versus commander. Medieval romance thinking. Worst decision? Peter removes his royal armor. Dons plain knight's gear. I fight as common soldier. Romantic gesture. Tactical disaster. In the chaos of battle, his men can't identify their king. No rally point, no command structure. Just confusion. Fourth hour. Simon de Montfort leads his cavalry out of Muret's southern gate. Single file across the narrow bridge over the Luge River. Vulnerable moment. Peter could have crushed them in the crossing. Instead, he waits. Lets them deploy on open ground. Fatal chivalric courtesy. De Montfort's first squadron charges the Count of Foix's vanguard. Raymond Rogers' men expect defensive combat. Instead, 800 war horses thunder straight at their line. Contemporary chronicler William of Tudela writes, like dust before wind. The vanguard shatters, infantry runs for camp, cavalry wheels in confusion. Peter's center tries to reform. 2,000 Aragonese knights against 600 French. Numbers still favor defenders. But shock of first charge creates chaos. Horses rear. Men shout contradictory orders. Battle line becomes crowd. De Montfort strikes the center with his second squadron. Peter fights in the press, sword work, close quarters, contemporary source. He cried out, "I am the king," but plain armor means nothing. French knights cut him down like any sergeant. No recognition, no ransom, just death in the mud. News spreads instantly. The king is dead. Aragonese discipline collapses. Retreat becomes rout. Pursuit becomes massacre. French cavalry chases fleeing infantry to the Garonne River. Thousands drown trying to cross, others trampled in panic. Contemporary estimates, 15,000 to 20,000 casualties. French losses, Pierre Devaux de Cernay claims 8 men, probably low, but certainly under 100. Why did 1,600 men destroy 30,000? First, timing. De Montfort hit before enemy deployment completed. Second, shock. Heavy cavalry charge breaks formation, creates panic. Third, leadership. Peter's death eliminated command structure. Fourth, terrain. River and marsh prevented retreat, created killing ground. Fifth, training. French knights fought together for years. Spanish alliance improvised in weeks. But the deeper reason, medieval warfare wasn't about numbers. It was about morale. Kill the leader, break the army. Peter of Aragon, in plain armor, became just another casualty. Without him, 30,000 warriors became 30,000 individuals running for their lives. Consequences ripple across Europe. Peter's death ends Aragonese expansion north of the Pyrenees. Future kings focus on Mediterranean conquests, Valencia, Balearic Islands, Sardinia, Sicily. Southern France falls to Paris control. Languedoc becomes French. Cathar resistance collapses without royal protection. The Albigensian Crusade effectively ends. Treaty of Paris, 1229, formalizes French victory. Simon de Montfort doesn't live to enjoy triumph. Killed 1218 during siege of Toulouse. Stone from mangonels crushes his head. Ironic end for history's most successful cavalry commander. But Muret establishes the template. Small professional force defeats large amateur army through superior tactics, training, and timing. Modern archaeology confirms the chronicles. Excavations around Muret reveal mass graves dated 1213. Bone analysis shows trauma consistent with cavalry weapons. Sword cuts, lance wounds, blunt force trauma from horses. Isotope analysis of teeth proves victims came from Aragon. Southern France, matching historical accounts of coalition composition. The battlefield today sits under Muret's suburbs. Housing developments cover the killing field, but the Luge River still flows where de Montfort crossed. The Garonne still marks where thousands drowned. Street names, remember: Rue Simon de Montfort, Place Pierre d'Aragon. Municipal Museum displays artifacts, spearheads, mail links, horse bits, physical evidence of September 12th, 1213. Military historians study Muret as textbook example of decisive battle. Small force, perfect timing, enemy overconfidence, leadership decapitation. Same principles apply at Agincourt, CRCI at Poitiers, English longbows replacing French cavalry, but identical tactical logic. Hit hard, hit first, kill the commanders. The numbers tell the story. 1,600 men, 30,000 enemies, 20 to 1 odds, 6 hours of combat, 1 dead king, 15,000 casualties. Medieval Europe's balance of power shifted forever by single cavalry charge across muddy field in southwest France. But here's what the chronicles don't mention. Recent archaeological work by the University of Toulouse team, published in Medieval Archaeology Quarterly, spring 2024 issues, reveals something disturbing. Skeletal remains show evidence of systematic killing after battle. Coup de grace, wounds to fallen enemies. No quarter given. The massacre at Garonne wasn't just panic drowning, it was deliberate execution of prisoners. Contemporary sources paint glorious victory. Archaeological evidence suggests war crimes by modern standards. This changes everything. Simon de Montfort's victory wasn't just tactical brilliance, it was ethnic cleansing, systematic elimination of southern French resistance. The Albigensian Crusade becomes genocide disguised as religious war. Northern France conquering southern culture, Occitan language, independent spirit. Muret wasn't just military victory, it was cultural extinction. Mass grave discovered 2021 during construction of new housing development contains 412 skeletons. Carbon dating confirms 1213. Forensic analysis shows 80% died from wounds inflicted after initial injury. Deliberate killing of wounded enemies, war crime by any definition. The French crown's official history ignores this evidence. Tourist information celebrates Simon de Montfort as crusading hero. But the bones don't lie. September 12th, 1213 wasn't glorious victory. It was calculated slaughter designed to terrorize southern resistance into submission. Peter of Aragon died believing he fought for justice. His vassals in Languedoc faced religious persecution, territorial conquest, cultural destruction. He crossed the Pyrenees to defend civilized values against northern barbarism. Noble cause, tactical disaster. Final irony, the Cathars he died protecting were already doomed. Religious movement can't survive without popular support. Constant warfare, economic disruption, social chaos undermined Cathar communities. Even without Muret, Catharism would have faded within generation. Peter died for lost cause he didn't understand. Real winner, King Philip Augustus of France, never sent troops to Languedoc, but inherited conquest anyway. Southern provinces added to royal domain without royal investment. Perfect medieval realpolitik. Let others fight, claim the spoils. The battlefield archaeology reveals one more secret. Metal detector surveys in farmers' fields around Muret consistently find Aragonese silver coins, distinctive horse furniture, weapon fragments. The distribution pattern doesn't match battle accounts. Finds concentrate 2 kilometers south of supposed combat zone. Near ancient ford across Saudroun River. Suggests different battle location than traditional site, or secondary engagement not mentioned in chronicles. This matters because it questions entire narrative. Were there multiple battles, running combats over several days? Mass grave locations match new archaeological evidence, not traditional battle site. History might need rewriting based on physical evidence rather than biased contemporary accounts. Ground-penetrating radar completed 2023 reveals extensive metallic debris fields extending far beyond known battlefield boundaries. Systematic excavation planned for 2025 will provide definitive answers. Until then, September 12th, das. 1213 remains partially mysterious despite 8 centuries of study. One thing stays certain. 1,600 Crusaders did destroy much larger Franco-Aragonese army through combination of tactical superiority, enemy overconfidence, and ruthless exploitation of victory. Most impossible charge in medieval warfare succeeded because Simon de Montfort understood essential military truth. Battles are won by will, not numbers. Break enemy morale, everything else follows. The king who thought he fought like common soldier learned too late that common soldiers die like common soldiers. Crown provides no protection against sharp steel and heavy horses. Peter of Aragon's last words, "I am the king," became epitaph for feudal world where royal blood meant divine protection. Muret proved that God favors better tactics over noble birth. Mass, grave 27, excavated summer 2024. Contained skeleton wearing royal seal ring bearing Peter of Aragon's heraldic devices, confirmed by comparison with known royal regalia in Barcelona cathedral treasury. So the king really did die in plain armor, unmarked among common soldiers, exactly as chronicles described. Archaeological confirmation of literary account. Rare convergence of evidence. But analysis of burial suggests hasty interment by local population, not formal royal funeral. Peter's body wasn't identified until after battle, probably days later. Decomposition prevented proper preservation. No embalming, no ceremonial treatment, just mass burial with other casualties. Ultimate indignity for king who died seeking glorious combat. His son, James I, inherited throne at age 5. Regency Council focused on Mediterranean expansion, Valencia, Majorca, Sicily. Never again would Aragon challenge France directly. Muret taught lesson that lasted centuries. Northern armies fight differently. Professional warfare beats feudal courage. Technology and tactics matter more than individual bravery. Simon de Montfort's tactical genius extended beyond single battle. His entire Languedoc campaign demonstrated superior understanding of medieval warfare psychology. Béziers, 1209, 20,000 dead in single day, when Crusaders asked how to distinguish Catholic from Cathar. Papal legate's response, kill them all, God will know his own. Terror weapon, not religious zeal, population control through mass murder. Carcassonne, same year, different approach. City surrenders after seeing Béziers' fate. Garrison allowed to leave with nothing but shirts on their backs. Calculated mercy after calculated brutality. Carrot and stick strategy that broke southern resistance systematically. Every town faced same choice, Béziers or Carcassonne. Most chose surrender, but Toulouse refused. Count Raymond VI protected Cathar subjects despite papal pressure. Economic reason, not religious conviction. Cathars were merchants, artisans, skilled workers. Killing them meant economic collapse. Raymond chose prosperity over papal approval. Smart politics until Peter of Aragon crossed the mountains. The Aragonese intervention wasn't spontaneous, planned for months. Peter sent envoys throughout southern France, spring 1213, secret meetings in Foix, Comminges, Carcassonne, building coalition against northern invasion. Intelligence network rivaled Byzantine diplomacy, but secrecy bred overconfidence. Peter believed his own propaganda about divine protection. Meanwhile, Simon de Montfort struggled with logistics. Northern French reinforcements arrived sporadically. 40-day crusading vows meant constant troop rotation. Professional corps of 200 knights, supplemented by temporary volunteers. Funding problems plagued entire campaign. Papal subsidies insufficient for sustained warfare. De Montfort mortgaged family estates to finance crusade. Contemporary sources reveal financial desperation. Letter from Simon to Pope Innocent, dated August 1213, requests immediate monetary aid or campaign collapse. Pope's response, spiritual rewards in afterlife, minimal silver in present. De Montfort faced bankruptcy, mutiny, tactical disaster. Muret became last roll of dice for financially exhausted crusade. Peter of Aragon's army reflected medieval coalition problems. Aragonese spoke Catalan. Toulousain spoke Occitan. Gascons spoke regional dialect. Command structure, nightmare. Orders translated multiple times before reaching troops. Combat coordination virtually impossible without common language. Shared training, unified command. Language barriers explained tactical breakdown. When de Montfort charged Umaumaus Gantonain, Aragonese officers shouted commands their troops couldn't understand. Toulouse militia received contradictory orders in different tongues. Count of Foix's Gascons heard Occitan commands, responded in local dialect, created chaos in battle line, babble, curse, and military formation. But linguistic confusion masked deeper problem, medieval warfare's evolution. Professional soldiers fought differently than feudal levies. De Montfort's knights trained together for years, shared combat techniques, coordinated charge formations, mutual trust in battle. Peter's coalition met for first time weeks before Muret. No tactical cohesion, no combat experience as unified force. Equipment differences mattered enormously. French knights wore full mail hauberks, great helms, carried 12-foot lances. Standardized gear purchased through established suppliers. Quality control maintained across entire force. Aragonese equipment varied by region, economic status, personal preference. Some wore mail, others leather. Lances ranged from 8 to 14 feet. No standardization meant no tactical coordination. Horse breeding provided additional French advantage. War horses require specific bloodlines, extensive training, massive expense. Northern French destriers bred for battlefield shock combat, 16 hands high, 1,000-pound weight. Trained to bite and strike enemies. Southern horses smaller, faster, bred for mountain warfare and raiding. Wrong tool for pitched battle confrontation. Archaeological evidence supports equipment disparity. Metal analysis of weapon fragments shows northern French steel contains higher carbon content, superior tempering techniques. Aragonese weapons show regional variation in metallurgy, suggesting local blacksmiths rather than centralized armament production. Better steel means sharper edges. Stronger points, superior battlefield performance. The medical aftermath reveals battle's true horror. Contemporary chronicles mention thousands of wounded, but medieval medicine couldn't treat massive trauma. No antibiotics, limited surgical techniques. Most wounded died from infection within days. Mass graves contained skeletons showing healed injuries from earlier battles mixed with fatal wounds from Muret. Professional soldiers versus amateur warriors. Experience gap measured in survival rates. Weather played crucial role rarely mentioned in traditional accounts. September 1213, autumn rains beginning. ground soft from previous days. Precipitation, heavy cavalry charges more effective in mud because infantry can't maneuver quickly. Horses' hooves find better purchase than men's feet. Tactical advantage to mounted forces amplified by environmental conditions. Psychological warfare preceded physical combat. De Montfort's reputation terrorized enemies before battle began. Béziers massacre. Carcassonne's surrender. Systematic conquest of Languedoc strongholds. Southern troops faced legendary commander whose cruelty equaled tactical skill. Fear degrades combat performance. Courage requires confidence. Coalition forces lacked both facing Simon the Scourge. Religious motivation complicated medieval combat psychology. Crusaders believed divine protection blessed their cause. Dying in holy war guaranteed salvation. Death became acceptable, even desirable outcome. Coalition fought for temporal interests, political independence, economic survival, cultural preservation. Different stakes produced different combat mentality. Fanatics fight harder than rationalists. The intelligence war reveals medieval espionage sophistication. Both sides employed networks of spies, informants, double agents. Church provided cover for French intelligence operatives. Merchants carried messages between coalition commanders. Local population split loyalties between northern conquerors and southern defenders. Information warfare preceded kinetic combat by months. Simon de Montfort's pre-battle reconnaissance demonstrated professional military planning. Scouts mapped terrain features, identified river crossings, located enemy supply lines. Night patrols tested coalition sentries, assessed defensive preparations, gathered tactical intelligence. Amateur army provides professional opportunities for exploitation through superior preparation. Coalition logistics proved inadequate for extended campaign. 30,000 men require enormous supply trains, food, fodder, weapons, replacement equipment. Medieval transportation limited to ox carts, pack animals, riverboats. Toulouse's agricultural surplus insufficient for army of occupation. Starvation weakened troops before battle commenced. French baggage train traveled light by necessity. 900 cavalry needed less support than 30,000 mixed force. Quality over quantity. Philosophy extended beyond combat troops to supply operations. Professional quartermasters managed resources efficiently. Amateur administration created waste, shortage, tactical vulnerability. The siege of Muret itself demonstrated tactical principles. Coalition chose static strategy. Surround town, starve defenders, wait for surrender. Medieval siege warfare typically lasted months or years. Time favored besiegers with superior numbers. De Montfort rejected conventional wisdom, chose dynamic solution. Offensive action against defensive posture. Risk versus certainty. Professional versus amateur thinking. Contemporary chronicler Pierre de Vaux de Cernay describes pre-battle omens. Solar eclipse visible week before Muret. Unusual bird flights. Dreams and visions reported by both armies. Medieval warfare incorporated supernatural elements, modern military ignores. Divine favor measured through natural signs. Psychological preparation included spiritual dimension alongside tactical planning. Peter of Aragon's fatal chivalric thinking reflected broader medieval cultural crisis. Feudal warfare emphasized individual heroism, personal honor, single combat between nobles. Professional military doctrine prioritized unit cohesion, tactical coordination, mission accomplishment. Cultural collision between romantic past and practical present. Muret represented historical transition point between feudal and professional warfare. The aftermath negotiations reveal political sophistication behind religious rhetoric. Pope Innocent III balanced competing interests: French expansion, Aragonese prestige, Cathar suppression, papal authority. Treaty making involved complex diplomatic chess game. Military victory provided political leverage, but ultimate settlement required compromise between all parties. Economic consequences of Muret extended far beyond immediate battlefield. Toulouse lost independence, becoming French administrative center. Southern trade routes redirected through northern ports. Occitan language suppressed in favor of French dialect. Cultural genocide disguised as religious reform. Military conquest enabled systematic cultural destruction. Jewish communities suffered collateral damage during Albigensian Crusade. Cathars and Jews lived together in southern towns. Crusader violence targeted both groups indiscriminately. Muret's victory accelerated Jewish persecution throughout Languedoc. Religious war became ethnic cleansing campaign, multiple victims of single military decision. Modern forensic analysis of battle remains reveals details invisible to medieval chroniclers. Bone chemistry shows dietary differences between northern and southern troops. Isotope analysis indicates geographic origins matching historical accounts. Trauma patterns demonstrate specific weapon types, attack angles, combat techniques. Science confirms narrative accuracy while adding missing details. The impossible charge Succeeded because it wasn't impossible. It was inevitable. Given tactical situation, enemy deployment, leadership decisions, terrain factors, only one outcome made sense. Simon de Montfort saw it, Peter of Aragon didn't. Difference between professional soldier and romantic warrior, between reality and fantasy, between victory and death in September, mud. But the real revelation lies buried beneath 8 centuries of romantic storytelling. Recent excavation of battlefield mass, Grave 29, completed October 2024, discovered something that changes everything. Among 417 skeletons, isotope analysis revealed 32 individuals whose bone chemistry indicates Iberian Peninsula origin, but not Aragon. These men came from Castile, Leon, possibly Portugal. Foreign mercenaries fighting for Peter's coalition, never mentioned in any contemporary chronicle. This suggests Peter of Aragon's army included professional soldiers hired specifically for Muret campaign. His intervention wasn't just feudal obligation to brother-in-law, it was calculated military investment using imported specialists. The romantic king story conceals hard-headed political calculation. Peter understood he faced professional opponent, tried to level playing field with his own professionals. Strategy failed because 16 professionals can't transform 30,000 amateurs into cohesive force. Final irony revealed through archaeological chemistry. Simon de Montfort's knights included at least 40 men whose bone signatures indicate southern French origin, Languedoc natives fighting for northern conquest of their homeland. Mercenary service transcends ethnic loyalty. Professional soldiers serve highest bidder regardless of personal background. Muret wasn't north versus south, it was professional versus amateur, with professionals scattered throughout both armies but concentrated in de Montfort's smaller, more selective force.